Hello, welcome to Chronicle Live over on Twitter and Facebook, joined by Lee Ryder. He's just left the community stadium down at Brentford. Lee, disappointing night. How would you sum it up?
Yeah, shambolic is probably the only word you can sort of say about it. Newcastle United second best throughout the night. Too many players didn't look like they were up for it, and sadly, even a full-strength Newcastle team couldn't turn it around against Brentford, who'd made 6 changes. So very disappointing all round. And for Steve Bruce, there's obviously a decision to make with 3 games against Man City, Liverpool and Leicester. It's not going to be easy.
How was Steve Bruce in the press conference? What was his reaction to tonight?
Well, he said he would fight on. He was asked if the players were playing for him. He was asked if he still had anything in the tank himself. He said he did. He said he's a resilient so-and-so, and he would try and fight on. But we've been here before with Newcastle United. They get to a big moment in a quarter-final of a cup and then blow it. But it's more the manner of the team, the body language of the players, and just the general all-round mood of the place just doesn't seem right.
You weren't very impressed with Shelby. You got a 2 in your player ratings. Is the captain, you feel he should have done more tonight?
The captain has to show a lot more than that. He didn't tonight. He seemed to plod around. But unfortunately, Newcastle need more than that. If the fans had been there tonight, that would have been a really big disappointment for them. I think they'd have been booed off the pitch. So moving forward, it's difficult to know where Newcastle go next, really.
Were you surprised with Brentford? I mean, they had the better chances after they went 1-0 up. Newcastle just didn't seem to lay a glove on them at all.
Look, the game could have been over by half-time. Brentford had the better chances. That was Newcastle's wake-up call. They didn't seem to want to take it. By the end, they had 4 strikers on the pitch. They couldn't get the ball to any of them. Players were running into each other. It was just a complete shambles, as I've said. And look, it's almost like he's run out of ideas, because how many teams you see set up with 4 strikers? There's no cohesion there at all. We wanted him to attack, but it's almost like they're overcompensating. So really disappointing, and we try and move on through Christmas now.
It's going to be difficult with them fixtures coming up, though, isn't it? Because, Man City, Liverpool, Leicester, where they're going to get the points from?
Well, it's hard to see them getting anything over the next 3 games. And the goal difference could take a real dent as well. I mean, nothing's impossible. Man City aren't playing brilliant, but when the top players of your side, the leaders, aren't doing it for you, then it's hard to see how anyone can lift themselves to do that. Maybe the players that got the big contracts are content now, and they don't want to go out and put the performances on. I don't know. We'll have to ask them.
What damage do you think this result would have done for the support, which you could argue was already quite limited in the fan base for Steve Bruce?
Well, it was probably already 97.9% of fans wanted a new manager. That's the reality. I can only go off what I'm seeing. I can only go off what people are telling me. Steve Bruce wasn't a popular choice to begin with. He's had 18 months in the job. They're in a similar position in the table that they were last season. Their stats aren't looking good at all. So, where would Newcastle go after that? Eddie Howe's available. There's probably a couple of other managers who would jump at the chance. But Mike Ashley doesn't tend to sack managers. He doesn't like signing checks of compensation. So it's a real dilemma over the festive period.
Lee's got a train to catch, so you might have to shoot off at some point. What is the issue, do you think? Is it the tactics, formation, passion, desire of the players? Is it a mixture of all kinds of elements?
It's all, the whole cohesion of the place isn't there. People don't seem to be working together. They scraped them results against West Brom and Crystal Palace, but tonight was evidence that just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's all well, Lee. We thank you for joining us. Safe journey back to Tyneside.
Cheers.
And there we have Lee Ryder down in the capital. And I'm sure you guys are very frustrated. You can tell by the comments on social media. There's a lot of people frustrated with what happened tonight. One goal obviously decided Josh De Silva with it. And what stood out about the goal was just the lack of marking. I mean, how he was able just to get past the fullback into the box, finish first time. It was a lovely goal, but the lack of defending, very worrying. And we saw again, in my opinion, Newcastle vulnerable when it came to set pieces. There was 2 chances in the first half when Pinnock and then Canos had 3 headers. They were unmarked from corners, 3 headers, and they put it wide. And it's just, I don't see how, where's the leadership? Because once that happens once, someone should be grabbing someone and saying, this can't happen again. We saw it against Fulham, and it seems to be, unfortunately, the same mistakes are creeping into the game time and time again. And again, just a lack of creativity. Newcastle managed 0 shots on target in that second half. Don Goodman on Sky Sports said they were throwing everything at it. I didn't see it. Did you guys? I mean, lots of comments coming in. People not happy with the midfield centre pair. And again, yes, the midfield, in my opinion, totally bypassed. Yet again, the defence are therefore much more vulnerable when they haven't got, someone in front of them, protecting them. And I think for everybody, just a massive frustration, isn't there? Because it's been a terrible year with the COVID-19, and what we wanted was a bit of hope, and a semi-final would give us that hope. But I was always fearful of Brentford tonight. They played good football. They had nothing to lose. They put a side out. Their main priority was not to damage their league campaign. 6 changes, put a side out, go out and see what you can do. Take the game to Newcastle, and they did, and they were deserved winners. And again, we have to say thanks to Carl Darlow for keeping the score only at 1-0. He had 2 good saves to make from Tony, and I can't quite remember the other one, but it was a good save, a point-blank range, as we mentioned to Lee there, that once Brentford went up, they were looking to add a second. They weren't really that bothered about protecting that 1 goal. They were going after a second, and once Tony was introduced, the game went up a notch with him on, because he was making the runs, he was creating a bit of havoc for Hayden and Yedlin, and Newcastle couldn't handle him. So he did his profile no harm with his brief cameo, and yeah, things just don't look good to the end with Man City, Liverpool, Leicester on the rise, and then we have an FA Cup game against Arsenal. It's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks, and you do fear for Newcastle. They don't look like creating. They look defensively vulnerable. Where the goal is going to come from. You've got Callum Wilson, but you can only put in the back of the net what he's provided with. And yet again, very limited today. The service, the defense, just vulnerable. It's at times there's 2 or 3 men going to the ball, going for a man, and that's not how it should be, in my opinion. Very, very frustrating. Head over to chroniclelive.co.uk where you can keep up to date with all the latest Newcastle United news, including Lee's match report. He pulls no punch. He holds back nothing in this report. I recommend that you do read it. He does suggest that maybe there's a decision to make for Mike Ashley and co. Head over there. You've got his player ratings as well, and 5 things we learned, plus all the reaction from Steve Bruce. It's going to be an interesting couple of days as the fallout from this continues. Thank you very much for watching.